This is about bias, but not the kind that whispers, the kind that shouts, the kind that slams courtroom doors, the kind that decides who gets believed and who gets blamed. This is about domestic violence and gender bias, that old, rusted, poisonous machinery grinds every survivor down, no matter their gender, no matter their body, and no matter their truth. So sit with me, or walk with me. Let's peel back the layers of this thing that pretends to be neutral, but never has been. There is a myth of the perfect victim. They say domestic violence has a look, a shape, a gender, a script. They say the survivor is always small, always soft, always feminine, always fragile, always crying in the corner with a trembling voice and a broken wing. But what happens when the survivor is loud, when the survivor is angry, when the survivor is a man, non binary, trans, when the survivor is disabled, undocumented, or black, or native, or brown? What happens when the survivor doesn't fit the mold that was carved by patriarchy, polished by media, and enforced by systems that pretend to be objective? I'll tell you what happens. They get labeled mutual combatants. They get called high conflict. They get told, you don't look like a victim, as if trauma has a dress code and as if survival has a gender. Let's start with the obvious, because even the obvious gets ignored. Gender bias hurts women by making their pain predictable, dismissible, expected. Oh, she's exaggerating. She's just emotional. Oh, she's being super dramatic. She's trying to get custody. She's weaponizing the system. As if a woman hasn't been silenced for centuries. As if women haven't been told to keep the peace, to stay quiet, and to endure. Gender bias hurts women by making their suffering ordinary. And when suffering becomes ordinary, systems stop seeing it as urgent. But gender bias doesn't stop there. It swings like a wrecking ball in every direction. Men who survive domestic violence are told that they cannot be victims because they're too strong, too big, too masculine, too something. They are told, why didn't you fight back? Why didn't you leave? How could a woman hurt you? Are you sure it wasn't mutual? And the shame, that thick, choking shame, wraps around their throats until silence feels safer than truth. Gender bias traps men in a cage of expectations that were never built for healing. And then there are the survivors whose systems pretend not to see. Non binary survivors, trans survivors, gender expansive survivors, people who walk into shelters and are told, we don't have a place for you. People who walk into courtrooms and watch judge misgender them, erase them, invalidate them before they even speak. People who call the police and end up being treated as the aggressor because their existence confuses the officer more than the violence does. Gender bias hurts them by making them invisible, and invisibility is its own kind of violence. And the children? Gender bias hurts them by deciding which parent is credible, which parent is stable, dangerous, alienating, which parent is overreacting. Gender bias hurts children by turning their safety into a stereotype. If mom reports abuse, she's hysterical. If dad reports abuse, he's strategic. If a trans parent reports abuse, they're a suspect. If a non binary parent reports abuse, they're just confusing. Children get caught in crossfires of adult assumptions. I will repeat that. Children get caught in the crossfires of adult assumptions, and the system calls it their best interest. Gender bias doesn't just hurt survivors, it hurts the truth itself. Because when systems decide who is believable based on gender, they stop listening to the story. They listen to the stereotype. They listen to the script. They listen to the version of events that fits the narrative they already believe. And truth, raw, messy, human truth, gets buried under paperwork, under prejudice, under centuries of conditioning. Gender bias costs survivors their safety, custody, housing, jobs, community, reputation, mental health, physical health, freedom, their children, their lives. And the system shrugs as if this is normal, as if this is acceptable, as if this is the price of not fitting the mold. But here's the thing, bias is not destiny. Bias is a lens, and lenses can be changed. We can build systems that understand domestic violence is not gendered. It is pattern. It is coercive. It is strategic. It is psychological. It is financial. It is legal. It is spiritual. It is emotional. And it is physical. It is not about who you are. It is about what was done to you. We can build systems that recognize survivors in all their forms. We can build systems that stop asking, does this fit the stereotype? And start asking, what is the pattern of harm? We can build systems that stop punishing survivors for their reactions and start holding abusers accountable for their actions. We can build systems that see children not as pawns, but as people. We can build systems that understand gender bias is not a side issue. It is the root of so many failures. So here is my call, my plea, my demand. Witness survivors as they are, not as gender scripts tell you that they should be. Witness the mother who fights like hell to protect her kids and gets labeled alienating. Witness the father who tries or who cries in the police station and gets laughed at. Witness the non-binary survivor who gets turned away from every shelter. Witness the trans survivor who gets misgendered in every courtroom. Witness the child who knows exactly who is dangerous and exactly who is safe, but gets ignored because their truth doesn't match the judge's bias. Witness them, all of them, every single one. Because gender bias is not just a flaw in the system, it is the system. And until we dismantle it, survivors will keep paying the price. So let this be the moment that we stop pretending domestic violence has a gender. Let this be the moment that we stop letting stereotypes decide who gets believed. Let this be the moment that we stop letting bias write the ending. Let this be the moment that we choose truth over tradition, justice over judgment, and over habit. Because every survivor, every single one, deserves to be seen without bias, heard without prejudice, and protected without condition. And that right there is how we begin to build a world where healing is possible for all.